To understand where we are, we need to know where we came from. Across the millennia, Catholic healthcare has embraced the young and old, the poor and vulnerable, the forgotten, the lonely, and the stranger near and far. For millions of people throughout the world, the only medical care or healing they ever knew came to them through the healing ministry of the Catholic Church. In America, the story of Catholic healthcare began 4 centuries ago in 1734 with 14 French Ursuline sisters who opened the first hospital to serve the poor in New Orleans. Over the following decades, many other religious congregations founded hospitals and clinics in cities, towns, and frontier outposts to serve the neglected and vulnerable in the growing nation.
It's no secret for us in healthcare in the United States that we are where we are today because of the phenomenal work of men and women in religious congregations who went out and responded to the needs of a community, usually at the invitation of either the bishop or the community itself.
This didn't happen without major risk and sacrifice. Resources and funding were usually non-existent. However, faith and conviction were in plentiful supply to serve the poor and those in need. During the Civil War, the sisters' bravery was put to the test as they ministered to the wounded Union and Confederate soldiers in makeshift tents on the front lines of battle.
More than 600 sisters representing 21 different communities served as nurses during the war. As the Civil War began, the Union Army operated only one hospital. The Confederacy had none. Catholic sisters, however, already directed 28. Teaching sisters learned to nurse. Nursing sisters quickly adapted to the horrors of the battlefield. They cared for wounded soldiers in hospitals, on transport ships, and in barracks. They even carried men through the mud to makeshift tents. Sister Anthony O'Connell pressured Army doctors to allow sisters to tend to soldiers on the front lines. Her lobbying succeeded, earning her the title Angel of the Battlefield.
After the war, the explosive growth of cities, tidal waves of immigrants, and spirited westward expansion ushered in new needs and opportunities. Once again, the sisters were there.
Immigrant rights and services have always been a focus for sisters. In the late 1800s, Italian immigrant Francis Cabrini worked in New York City to help the Italian community, often suffering in dire circumstances in unsanitary city tenements.
Mother Cabrini was a frail, little, all the descriptions of her talk about how little and how small she was, and yet she stood up to bishops, demanded that money to open her institutions. She was terrified of drowning. She had almost drowned as a child, and she crossed the ocean 28 times. I think about the courage that took, and I think about financially how little resources they had and how they built vast institutions.
Elsewhere in the country, sisters responded to waves of epidemics and disasters by rendering skilled nursing care with compassion. Working for little or no pay, sisters risked their safety often as entire towns evacuated, leaving only the sick behind. Describing an outbreak of yellow fever in New Orleans, Mother Austin Carroll, a Sister of Mercy, wrote,
"Not a bell rang. Not a note of music. The very songbirds have deserted us."
In San Francisco, gold fever drew thousands of treasure seekers along with cholera and the scourge of smallpox. Sister Mary Baptist Russell, who founded the first Catholic hospital on the West Coast, often hid clean bed sheets under her habit to give to the sick and poor. A writer in the day observed, "Those devoted Sisters of Mercy willingly presented themselves and entered on a mission of charity from which all others shrink in dismay."
Throughout the 20th century, Catholic healthcare mushroomed with the opening of hospitals, medical centers, and nursing schools across the country. Under the leadership of founding women and men religious, as well as some dioceses, The network of facilities grew to become the largest group of nonprofit healthcare providers in the U.S. Catholic Healthcare cares for 1 in 6 hospitalized patients each year. In addition, millions of young and old throughout the country receive care in community clinics, long-term care facilities, hospices, and other programs across the continuum of care.
We're in the marketplace. We're 18% of healthcare. And it's an important part of health. And so far, our very existence causes things to be discussed and challenged that wouldn't happen if we weren't there. So there's a major role to play.
Just like the country and the world we live in, leadership of the ministry has changed over the years.
I remember the times when we worked in it. We were the supervisor, we were the manager, we were the board, we were the member, we were the sponsor. And that's gone, long gone. But even sponsorship has changed. Now we have people who are not religious who are sponsors. That's a call to them to take up where we left off. And hopefully we can help develop them, as you say, for the future. That's a challenge for them.
You know, when we were sponsors, the sisters themselves were the sponsors. We never even thought about that as a special calling, as a very special gift and calling that we had. Now that we're able to enable other people, we're in a position where we're trying to encourage and enable and assure that they have the education they need. That certainly is very enriching to us. Looking backwards, you know, makes it so a gift to know that we had this gift of sponsorship, which we never even thought about. We never referred to it. We never talked of ourselves as sponsors until we began to go into systems and we began to encourage the participation of lay people in the ministry.
My understanding of sponsorship has evolved over a period of time. If you all recall this, that prior to Vatican II, we thought we owned and we operated all of our ministries. And after Vatican II, we found out, no. We were stewarding a ministry of the church. And in Pope John the 23rd's encyclical on mercy, he says, every baptized person is authorized, these aren't his exact words, to carry on the ministry of the church. I thought, forget that one, it's all taken care of.
That was Vatican II.
Yep. Yeah.
Told us that it was our baptismal right as an individual. I think that really did allow many of our congregations to step back, look at what they're doing, what they should be doing, go back to their roots and allow the laity to take over.
I'm pleased that, you know, it's time to let go. It's time for me to step back, but the mere fact that there are people who have really gone through the formation and not just the program, but truly it's been a transforming event in their lives. So I'm really very positive in terms of the future of Catholic ministry because of the role of the laity taking on sponsorship.
Yes, I think
Good
so.
people.
That's our future. That's the future of the church. We may go, the church will perdure.